Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 91 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is by far one of the most popular fish in the world. I promise you've heard about this fish, but how much do you actually know about this fish, or do you even know about the history of this fish? Well, you're here to find out. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is the Amore Carp. So the Amore Carp, or scientific name Cyprinus rubrofuscus, again that is Cyprinus rubrofuscus. It is part of the family Cyprinidae, and it is native to Eastern Asia. I say that it's native to Eastern Asia, but it has been introduced everywhere else, and I mean literally everywhere else. Literally every single continent on the globe except for Antarctica, this fish can be found. It is primarily a colder water fish, think less than 20 degrees Celsius, but as you can imagine, since they've been on every single continent, they are very tolerant of a wide range of conditions. Now, the normal color should be this sort of golden yellow that you see here. Now I say normal color, and you might be thinking, pink, why do I care about this fish? I don't recognize this fish. Well, you might recognize these fish. So while the normal color, or the wild color, should be that sort of golden, yellow, bronzish sort of pattern, the other name of this fish besides the Amore Carp is actually koi fish. So I'm betting you've heard of koi fish. Selective breeding has led to many different color variations. That's why you have all these different colors. They are all the same species of this species of carp, just selectively bred for numerous different color patterns. So that's why you know about this fish. Just a little interesting fact, it was originally thought to be a subspecies of common carp. And I did not even realize this, but in the early 2000s, it was actually determined to be its own species and accepted in the scientific community. So it is its own species now. I was under the assumption that it was still the common carp and just a subspecies, but they are their own separate species. They are a larger fish. They can be. The size is more often determined by diet and its environment. Most koi fish or Amore carps will reach about 61 centimeters or about 24 inches by the time they're 5 years old. You might find them super commonly around 20 inches. Some of them will reach up to 76 centimeters or about 30 inches in length. Those are actually considered jumbo in the koi fish world. And there are many grand champions that have been over 91 centimeters or 36 inches. And yes, I did say grand champions. There are fish shows just like there are for dog shows. And you will have these nice, beautiful koi fish showing up. They do have this traditional torpedo shape, and you can even tell here this sort of torpedo, real thick at the head and slimmer towards the end of the body. The scales are really large, and they're arranged in this little mesh pattern that you see here. But they do have this really scaleless head. It's really thick with this forward protruding mouth, and they have these little barbels, those little fleshy whiskers that's helping them search through the rocks and the crevices for insects, algae, pretty much anything, because they eat anything. I mean, they can eat anything you can possibly imagine. They survive on it. And this is not necessarily for the koi fish, although koi fish are often used. It goes into one of the most successful polyculture in the world, done in the mountain ranges of China. And polyculture is agriculture where you produce multiple species at the same time. And some of those local villages have an amazing polyculture system that utilizes koi fish. They will grow mulberry trees, I believe, that they can get wood, fruit from, things like that. they have silkworms that they keep in the trees and keep other pests away from the silkworms that they get their silk from. And then on the bottom of the tree, they will have a small rice paddy that they have grass carp and koi and other sorts of carp in there that they will grow for food and to eat all the dead silkworms that fall out, along with any sort of dead plant materials from the rice. And then as the fish die, they will also have pigs there that they can feed the dead fish to. So it's this multi-tiered system of agriculture that is absolutely incredible, the efficiency of that, because every single piece of the puzzle helps and builds the rest of the puzzle up. Really, really neat system. In terms of cost, they can be incredibly expensive. Most of them, I mean, you can find koi that range anywhere from $4 to $3,000. And no, I didn't misquote that. You can find these for $3,000. But you can find them much, much more expensive. A breeder certified koi fish, which those usually have a healthier genetic line, apparently, that they're more likely to pass on their colors to future generations. Those can actually get up to $10,000. But I'm not done. I am not done. There was one koi fish sold in the early 1980s. I think it was early 1980s. I'm pretty sure it was in the 1980s. That had a gold metallic color, just a singular color. It didn't have these multi-level coloration here. Just this single gold metallic color was bought for $2.2 million, making it the most expensive koi ever sold. I imagine it's probably the most expensive fish ever sold, but I didn't look into that, but that is an astronomical amount of money. $2.2 million for a single fish. Just one single fish. In terms of their reproduction, they do a mass broadcast spawning event where they lay, hundreds of thousands of eggs, and then males will breed or spray over the top of them. They can have multiple young. There's usually a lot of deficiencies. It should be noted that not all koi pass on their color patterns. They usually, some of them do go back to this more drabby, bronzish, yellow, gold color. But they're pretty common to get that coloration. So, and another little interesting fact I found it about the common carp. I don't know if the koi or the Amore carp go through the same system, but I'm going to imagine so. Koi, as you can imagine, are very easy for fish and other birds to catch. You see this orange-white carp here, a bird's going to be able to see that much better, and it's going to eat it. But I was doing some research, and I found out that the common carp, there's more how do I put this? The eggs of the common carp actually can survive through the digestive tract of many bird species. So just because their eggs get eaten, which is fairly common in the animal world, does not necessarily mean that they're done. And they seem to be pretty viable. Just a little interesting tidbit. But with all of these things, you might have thought that $2.2 million fish was the interesting fact. Well, no, I have a much better interesting fact and a little bit of controversy, because everyone likes a little controversy, a little drama. But the interesting fact is not actually about this species, but about a single fish. The koi hanako. I hope I said that right. I apologize if I mispronounced it. So the koi hanako was a scarlet-covered female koi. This beautiful fish right here. And I will admit, I'm not a fan of carp, not a fan of koi. This is a pretty beautiful fish. I'm pretty happy to find this out. But this single fish right here. In 1966, her owner and 2 other professors were curious about her age. And so they traveled to the mountain stream where she was kept, because apparently she wasn't kept with the owner. I'm not sure about the entire story, but they traveled up and gathered 2 of her scales and took them back into the lab. And they used those scales to determine her age. And for those of you who don't know, fish scales, especially in temperate climates, will get rings on their scales for growth periods. So during times of massive growth period, they will have no ring, but during winter months, or when it gets real cold and they're not growing as fast, they will have much tighter bands, a real small ring, which if that sounds familiar, yes, it's exactly like tree rings. Many fish species, you can determine the age by looking at their fish scale rings. Really interesting. Go look at it. It's really cool. But the interesting fact about this is that the rings on her scales, it was discovered that she was 215 years old at the time. 215 years old at 1966. That means that she was born in 1751. One of the oldest known fish individuals that we can account for. For a little bit of reference, 1751 was the same year that James Madison was born. Georgia was still a colony. The father of the U.S. Constitution was born in 1751. Meanwhile, this fish just hatched from her egg. Mind-boggling when you think about it. Unfortunately, sadly, she did die later in 1977 at 226 years old. She died on July 7th, 1977. 7777. Really neat, really interesting fact. The controversy is there are some disputed claims as to the veracity of her age, whether or not she was actually that old or was she younger. I'm not sure. I'm going to choose to believe she was a really old fish because it makes a much more interesting story, and she's beautiful. She deserves to live that long. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please drop those comments. I love reading them. They really do make my day. Thank you so much again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And peace.